Podcast by Friday, episode 21. Your whole purpose was to get out a minimal viable podcast. And so, if you're spending a whole lot of time worrying about the look and feel of your website, you're probably wasting a good portion of the time that you could be doing what you do best, and that's sharing your message. Podcast by Friday with Bill Griggs and Kingsley Grant. We help people to create their minimal viable podcast by taking bold action to defeat procrastination and to get their voices heard.
I'm Kingsley Grant.
And I'm Bill Griggs.
And you're listening to
Podcast by Friday.
Hey, Bill, what's up, man? It's good to connect once again with you. What's going on your side of town?
Hey, Kingsley. Everything is wonderful as always. It's great to be back with you on another episode of Podcast by Friday. This is part of the week I look forward to the most.
I do too. I think we do have some. When I look back over the last few episodes and our time together, I said, man, this is a very important time just to connect with you and to share with people who are like-minded some things we've been thinking about or doing. And I just can't wait to get it out because I feel like, this needs to be shared. And we just shared a part of our own personal life and journey with our audience. And I'm excited. I'm stoked.
Yeah. And in the last few episodes of the podcast, we've been going through the processes that we've used to launch our podcasts very rapidly. In fact, this particular podcast by Friday, we launched in under a week from conception of the thinking of what we were doing to actually getting the first episode out. And that's what this whole podcast is about: how to take bold action, so that you can get your voice heard.
Yeah, and that's really, I think, you go back to the idea of how we launched this. And maybe the person who's listening today, Bill, have no idea. It's the first time they've ever been introduced to us and hearing our voice and wondering, who are these guys? How did we connect? Do we sit in the same room? How do we do this recording? And I was thinking just now, if I came on to listen to this episode today and I had no idea about these two people, I'm wondering, okay, so what did they do? How did they get together? How did they record this episode? And I just was thinking maybe just to say, hey, you know what? If you're wondering that we're in two different states, but we're virtually seeing each other and just having this, it's almost like we're in the same room. And I really like the way we do this because I feel like I'm talking to a friend, because you are a very good friend of mine, but it's like we're having this conversation and we're allowing people to sit in on what we're discussing. Yeah,
and the technology that we have today makes things possible that were only dreamed of, even 5-10 years ago, to have a video conference call. I remember seeing that in cartoons in the 60s and 70s as some space age thing that wasn't going to be, that was possible in the future, but, it was just dreamed about. But, we take that for granted now with Skype and other tools. So, one of the things that's allowed us to put this podcast together, which is a lot of work, behind the scenes. I mean, we have to not only record episodes and edit them, but we also have to have a place for those episodes to go and to live on the internet so that other people can find them. And that kind of thing, that the tools that we use, to make our lives easier, because we take turns.
Yes.
We'll record an episode. I'll edit one. You'll edit one. You'll back and forth.
Yeah.
Web pages. I'll lay an episode out. You'll lay one out on the web page, and that's the way we work. So the tools that we use are what are helping us out, and so we've been trying to share with you, the listener, what some of those tools are.
And as a matter of fact, if you have not listened to the last two episodes, episode 20 and episode 19, I want to recommend you to go back and listen to that because we covered some of those tools that we use, and we're continuing that process. We'll be covering in the very near future as well about how we use virtual tools like Skype and so on. Mm-hmm. And but we wanted to go back and listen to those episodes. But today we are in for a great conversation on another topic that we do really enjoy using because of many reasons, and we'll talk more about that as the episode unfolds.
Yeah, last episode, we specifically covered how you could get web hosting in place so that you could store your website and give people a place to find you. And that's well and good, but most people have no idea how to build a website or how to make it look pretty or make it be functional and effective. And we are hoping to share something with you today that may help you over that hurdle to bring you a little further down the road to getting your podcast out. And the look and feel of a website is very important to us. And designers spend a whole bunch of time trying to come up with that look, that central feeling that goes through a website. And we'd like to help you simplify that process because your whole purpose was to get out a minimal viable podcast. And so, if you're spending a whole lot of time worrying about the look and feel of your website, you're probably wasting a good portion of the time that you could be doing what you do best, and that's sharing your message. So,
I spoke to someone this week, Bill, that's really a case in point here. And I was coaching her through some things, and she said to me she wanted to, as one of her coaching goals, was to create the online and build a website. So we were talking about that for a few minutes, and she said, my goal is to get it launched and my website up and running by June 1st. I'm thinking, June 1st? We're here at the end of April or mid-April, thereabouts, as we're recording this episode. And June is almost a month and a half away. And she's thinking about, wow, 6 weeks to get that up. And I'm thinking, how much time is being wasted on that? And what is most important for her is her content and getting out there and getting a place where people can find you. And I find so many people are like her, where they put off and they think about, oh, I can't do this. It's going to cost me an arm and a leg. I don't have the money. And I think, it's really doesn't have to be that way. And that's why I believe this episode is so important, because it's going to shrink the process, make it easier and a whole lot less stressful. That's why I'm so excited about sharing this with you as you're listening today.
Yeah. So we didn't take a month and a half to build our website. I think we built our website in 2 days. And
yes,
we had the basis of it done the first day, in just a few hours. Now, let's be very clear. What we're talking about is a basic website that has functions that you predefined that you wanted there. It's not an elaborate 70-page website. We're talking about the minimum that you need to get started, and to get people to find whatever it was that you were trying to get them to find. So now you could spend a whole lot of time trying to think of how to get that look and feel right, or you could use a tool that is out there called a theme to get this done. Now, I know if you're an absolute beginner, you're probably saying, "Oh, what's a theme?" A theme is really a template or a look that some guy who's really good at designing the look and feel of websites went and created so that they could produce variations on it or the same basic look and feel with people who didn't have to do a whole lot of work to get there. Most of the hard work is done for you. You just pick and choose what it is that you like about this design and run with it.
I remember, Bill, when we were in the early stages of decorate or have our furniture in our house, and my wife is and both of us really, we like an Asian look, and so we decided we want to have an Asian look theme in our house, and we decided, okay, what would that mean? So we'll try to find pieces here and there that has that look and feel of an Asian kind of design and the architecture of the furnishing. So when you go through our house, in each room you'll find at least something that has that Asian-looking theme running throughout the house. And so with that in mind, we wanted to have across-the-board feel where you walk through and say, oh, wow. And you should feel like you are continuing something you started once you get into our front door. And it's basically the very same thing we're saying. Your house is your website. And how do you keep a continual flow that feels the same, looks the same throughout, where someone comes and when they enter the front door of your house, your website, they're going to experience this feel and touch as they walk through, and you're going to take them on this journey. And so that is so important. And as Bill said, smart people who are much more smart than us have taken the time and sat down and drew out and the architecture and all of those things of how you can get that done. And we're just simply saying, hey, we found a way to make it so much easier for you and save you the time and the expenses. And that's why we want to give this as a gift to you as you're listening.
Mm-hmm. We are hosting our website using WordPress, which is, a program or series of codes that allow you to make easy changes to your website. And WordPress supports themes, and a theme is something that changes the design of your website to include things like the layout and color and font sizes and styles and, maybe the buttons look a certain way and everything. That's what we're talking about. Rather than you sitting down and paying somebody to code all of that stuff line by line, you just go and grab a theme that's already out there. And that's what we're talking about. That's a big time saver for us. This is all about saving time.
And Bill, a thing that is very important to that person as you're listening that I want to remind you, we have a certain sequential order to take this whole thing. And that's why our last episode, you need to go back and listen to that, because we talk about you don't get a theme before you have a domain name, because you need to have a place to put that WordPress, that's the site. And we talk about we cover a whole lot of that the last episode. So I want to encourage you to go back and listen to episode 20. Episode 20. So it's podcastbyfriday.com/020 or just 20. And you'll find us as we lay the groundwork. And now we're saying we bought the land. We're about to build on the land. So today it's going to be building on the land. And here we're getting into how to do that. So Don't forget, you need to find out how to buy the land first, and which is the domain and so on, and how to get that going. And we covered all of that in our last episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that analogy, Kingsley. That's a very good analogy. So we've kind of given you a brief idea of what a theme is, but, I'm not sure that we've really told the listeners, when they would really need a theme versus just knowing about it. When do you really need a theme?
Yeah, and that's a great question, because I think as we talked about this stuff just now, you bought the land, now you're about to build on the house. So when do you need it? After you bought the domain, decided that you want to get this house constructed, and you know what it's going to look like, or basically have an idea. You don't know it fully yet, and you're saying, let's look at the architectural aspect of the house. So when do you need it? Now. You need it right now. So you bought the domain. We're saying you need to now begin to construct what it is your website is going to look like. And we're going to help you to do that in today's episode. But that is the next step. So you've had step one done in our last episode. And again, don't forget to go back and listen to that. It's very important. We're building here on sequentially where we're going. So this is very critical for you to do that. But having done that, now is a time to get into the next stage, which is this stage of deciding on how the house might look, what colors you might want to have, and so on. And we're going to help you to do that in this episode. But this is now the time to do that.
Yep. Now, aside from the time, there is also the need. And with theme, if you are not familiar with creating things in WordPress from scratch to create the look and feel you want, that's the time also when you need a theme. You need someone else who's already done it for you, someone who put it together, made all the buttons uniform, made the menu bars look a certain way, made the pictures display a certain way. That's when you need a theme. When you are not capable or willing or can afford to do it on your own from scratch, that's when you should use a theme.
And don't have the time, because who have all the time to? I mean, I remember, Bill, I don't know about you, but I remember I could slave over this very piece right here for days and days and days, actually, and I would get so frustrated because I went back and forth, and I'm saying, I'm so thankful that we're going to be able to share in this episode how much easier it is. That lady I spoke to this past week, and in my coaching session with her, and when I told her about what we're going to share today, it's like, really? Yes. Yes. So, really? So, yes, really. And I want our listener today to almost feel the same thing like she felt in my coaching session.
Yeah. I remember when I put together my my webpage, one of my other sites is cncroutertips.com. And that was really the first time that I used a pre-formatted theme as the basis of one of my websites. Now, I change colors and things like that, which is something that you can easily do in a theme to match what I wanted to. But it was so much easier than when I had set up my my other two websites in WordPress directly, trying to control all those things, choosing each menu, choosing the types of buttons I was going to look at, choosing the way that the photographs were going to be displayed, choosing how many columns and formats that I had to, you still can do some of this, but the easy part of a theme is you can see an example of what it already looks like before you get started and say, yeah, I like that one. Oh, wait, no, kind of, and you go back and forth. I mean, you can look at these themes and just click a button, and now your website instantly looks that way. And any content that you've already created, which you probably haven't created content yet in this process, but if you had, it transfers automatically, and it comes down and gets put on the page in nice format, just like it was before. And it's like changing, I guess it would be akin to changing your clothes, changing themes. Yeah, I mean, you can do that.
Bill, you mentioned just now that the idea of to find all these templates and designs that you can see. So the question is then, where do I go and find that? Where do I find themes that you've suggested that may have all this look and feel as we have so far described?
So there's lots of different places that you can find themes, but I think we should probably stick with the way that we've done the other two episodes in this series so far, where we tell you the hard way first, and then we tell you the easy way. How's that? Does that sound?
That sounds good to me. It's like, no, it's like good news, bad news. Which one do you want first?
Yeah. Well, actually, the good news about all this whole theme concept is even the hard way is not that bad.
Right.
Okay. So, there's been a lot of work into it. But if you go to WordPress.org, for instance, what you had to do when you downloaded WordPress to put on your website so that you could, have, WordPress as the basis for your web page, they offer a bunch of free themes in the top of WordPress, and you can go down through those. And if any of those look good to you, you can use them. They'll give you the bare minimum of what you need, and that it gets it done. Or you can go onto one of the many companies that offers themes for sale, and there are a lot of them. Rather than go down and list, 5 or 6 or 10 commercially available theme companies that sell these themes. Why don't we just make it easier for ourselves, Kingsley, and we'll just make a list and put it on our resources page?
I think so. I think that's a lot. Yeah, I like that
for them, because honestly, there are companies that offer themes for sale, and themes can range in price and complexity, and I rather than going down that rabbit hole. Hey, this is the theme that I like over here, and this is there are many themes that people use, and some are very large and do many complex things, and others are very dead simple. But I think we should just maybe tell the folks what we use. That's the easiest part.
Yeah, another thing before that, I think what I want to remind that what we just suggested, what Bill just suggested, as you can hear, is very time intensive to go and research and find where, because there's so many out there, and we're trying to save you some time. And the whole idea is a minimum viable website and to get it done quickly and efficiently, and something that we know is very functional, because you could spend days and days and weeks and just go back and forth, which one, and research, and you'd never get started. So I like the fact that we basically are going to introduce you to what we use and what we found over the last couple of years to be so much versatile and friendly, user friendly, and so on. So Bill, why don't you go ahead and tell them finally what you've been holding out on that our audience on, and they're trying to say, okay, get to it.
Actually, Kingsley, no.
Okay. Hey, okay. The computers right here are popping out their audio thing on the ears and the earbuds and throwing it on the ground. And man, you know what, Bill, you're going to set them up to go to therapy,
Yeah.
But breakdown.
I think they need to know one more thing before we tell them what we got.
Teaser, go ahead.
Yeah, no, we've been talking about themes, but when I describe the themes, I'm also going to mention templates. Okay, and themes and templates are different. Anybody who knows, who's used any kind of template anywhere in the world, knows that a template is basically a form or a group of series of things that you fill out and change and adjust to give you a result. Okay, a finished way of doing things. So, for instance, we might have a template for a landing page, and I guess I have to explain what a landing page is really quick. A landing page is the first page that somebody gets to when they go and go looking for your thing, whether it's your podcast, whether it's some place that you land. That's where you start. That's the basis of your web page. Well, that can be done with a template. There might be a podcast page, for instance, that had listings of all your episodes. That could be a template as well. All of these things, these templates that we're talking about, share one thing in common, and that's that they would use the same theme. In other words, they all would look the same, because the theme controls the way each of these templates will display. Okay, so.
Can I just add something here, Bill?
Sure.
Okay, you know what? I'm from Jamaica, and so I remember growing up in the country area. Many times, my brother he sews, he makes clothing, and what he would do is this design. He would cut out this template, this design, which is a template, and he would lay the cloth on there. Mm-hmm. And so, whenever he's making a certain pattern of clothing, he lay that cloth on that one design, and he cuts that in, and that's. He doesn't have to think about it anymore. It's in place, and he just cut around that, and he sews, and that pants or whatever else is created. And he has another design which looks a bit different to make something else. So if he wants to have a different look, he just lay the cloth on there and cut it out, and that template guide the process for him and makes his life so much easier so he could get those things out in a hurry, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So when I hear templates, I am reminded of that because of my brother and in Jamaica and how people have to design their own clothes. Yes, they do, because it's to save money. So that came to my mind when you were talking about templates.
Yeah, exactly. So I just wanted to get that across there because what we're about to talk about combines both templates and themes. Okay. And so, it's one of the reasons why we use it. So rather than keep the suspense going any longer, we'll tell you. Yeah. This is the section of our show where we would normally pause for a word from our sponsor. Now, if you would like to be that sponsor of the Podcast by Friday show, and you have a product or service that you feel would be of benefit to new entrepreneurs starting their new podcast, then contact us at podcast@podcastbyfriday.com, and we'll see if you'd be a good fit. So rather than keep the suspense going any longer, we'll tell you. Yeah. If you want to know what it is that we use, you can go to podcastbyfriday.com/builder, and you'll get an idea on it. Now, what we use is called WP Profitbuilder.
Drum roll. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, what we use is called WP Profitbuilder. And I've been using it for about 2 years. How long have you been using it, Kingsley?
Well, actually, you introduced me to it. So I think it's after you started, I think I jumped on it because I went through that link you gave me and got mine. So you started before I did.
Yep. And like most of the things that I try and buy, I first look at the minimal, the minimum stuff that I need that can get the job done. And then I'm also very price conscious because I'm like that, So
me too.
I look at how much will it cost me to get this job done. And there are several competing products to this that many of you may have heard of, and I'm going to mention them right now. Lead Pages, for instance, is one. So Lead Pages would be probably the one that comes to mind most. What are some others, Kingsley?
Well, I know that Divi is one which is very popular. A lot of people have used that, and and give a lot of flexibility as well.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What is that one starts with a W, like Wixie or something like that?
Yeah, well, those are our website. You have Wix. You have
Wix,
these are like websites contained as well in that, and they have templates there too.
Yeah. So in those cases, you're actually buying hosting and or other stuff. This is not just something you get add with WP Profitbuilder. It's something that you can use standalone. And one of the things that got me, I'm comparing this directly to Lead Pages because I have a friend who started a podcast at the exact same time as I did. And she decided that for the website she was going to build, actually, she's the future mother-in-law to my daughter, that she would use Lead Pages to build it. And to do that, she had a monthly payment every month to use it, and a fairly substantial monthly payment. When I looked at Profitbuilder when it came out, I was like, wow, I can buy this product for essentially what she's paying for 1 month, and it still gets the job done. That was Profitbuilder 1, and they've added so much more to this program since then, besides the templates and besides the themes that it's ridiculous. There's literally hundreds of themes, looks and feels and templates in this program that are already laid out for me, so that I can just drag and drop stuff. And that's really why I looked at it and why I started using it, because it just works. And that's the whole point of this. Getting you something that's powerful that works.
I remember we have this in the resource page, but ThemeForest is one where they can go and find a bunch of themes, galore and different prices. But again, the time consumption there, you'll go and get lost, because I've been there and I'm like, okay, where do I get started? There's so much being offered. And that's what I like about WP Profitbuilder, as you described, because it's all in one place. And not only that, but it's just easy to access, easy to change, easy to maneuver around. Like, for example, I know having that in my having that in my arsenal, it allows me to go in and make changes so easily on my website. So I think you're onto something there, and I'm glad you mentioned that piece just now.
Yeah, I mean, I look at what she's had to do to build her page. And whenever she wants to add things, like, for instance, a countdown timer, that was an extra charge. Mm-hmm. That's built into here. Or, specific buttons and things. It's built in, and they keep adding things. And realistically, I have no idea where the program will be going in the future, what features they'll add, and, whether they'll change the way they market it. That doesn't concern me. I know that when I open up this program, I can get what I want done quickly. That's why I use it, and that's why we're able to coordinate the use of it across, between the two of us when we're laying up a page. Like when we're doing an episode of this podcast, I might be doing the editing, and you might be doing a web page, or vice versa. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And having something that has the ability for us to go in and make changes to it, using predefined templates that we created and edited, that's really cool, because not only can we use templates that other people created, we can create our own if we want. It's a real game changer for me anyway.
And these are some of the advantages that you're sharing of WP Profitbuilder, because I find that for me, even for this coming weekend, I want to go in and make some changes to my personal website at kingsgrant.com. And, I'm thinking, okay, there's so many flexibility of WP Profitbuilder. I am going to go in, and by the end of today or tomorrow, with the time I have, I don't have a lot of time to devote. I have other things to do. So I'm not worried about how long it would take me, because I can really get it done in a very short time, having used it for some time now. But it gives me the flexibility of making my site looks and feels so much different in just a few hours. And that will be what I'll be doing. And because I become so comfortable with this and so confident in it, I don't have to worry about, will it crash? Will it not? No, I can always make those changes and resort back to what I had before if I don't like it. So I think those are some of the flexibility. And you mentioned about the person, your friend, who was deliberating for so long, and you hopefully convinced her that, this can be a game changer for you. And here's why. And I think that as you're listening today, hope you're hearing that very same thing, that this is a game changer that can make your life so much easier, and at a fraction of the cost and time you would spend elsewhere, WP Profitbuilder can do that for you.
Mm-hmm. When I looked at, for instance, our page, Podcast by Friday, our landing page, our home page, most of it's a fairly simple page, but it has a look and feel. The colors we chose are consistent throughout most of the page, and the layout. But in order to do that, all we had to do was click buttons to load the theme. Once the theme was loaded in, then we could have used one of the templates that are there, to import and lay out the page, or we could drag and drop. I can click on an image, put it in onto a page, and then I can decide later, well, I'd really rather have that, image with some text on the side of it instead of text surrounding it. So I can split that into 2 columns, and I just push a button that opens up to add a new row, and select how many columns I want, and it automatically formats all that. I don't have to sit there and code all that stuff in HTML or CSS in order to get the look and feel I want, because that's not our point. Our point is not to be web page developers; it's to be podcasters and get our stuff out there. So, to me, that's really simple. I mean, there are many commonly available features in this. Software that would have taken you days to do on your own, but they're already done for you. And you're just dragging and dropping them onto the page where you want them.
When I think you mentioned earlier, Bill, there was at the page you had described that, I think /builder, would there be, that's where they will see some of what you're describing here in a visual manner? Yeah.
And if you go to podcastbyfriday.com/builder, it will take you to a video demonstration that's put on by the people who make WP Profitbuilder. And that'll just, walk you through some of the features of it. And you can look and decide for yourself. Quick disclaimer. Many of the things that we've done in the past few episodes are affiliate products, and I happen to be a WP Profitbuilder affiliate. So if you go to that webpage and you decide to purchase it, we will get a small commission from that, from the purchase. It doesn't cost you any extra, but I think in full disclosure, you should know that that will happen. I make it a point, and Kingsley also, to only be affiliates with products that we use and products that we like. So, that tells you something if we've established that kind of relationship with a company.
And I think, one of the things that we believe in so strongly is that we would not be telling you about something, as you've heard us spend so much time, like a fanboy kind of stuff here, but it's because we believe in the product. It works, and we want to get you up and running as quickly as possible. And we've been around for a while. We've tried different themes, different products in the past, and we found one that has worked. And you know what? It's working for us, and we believe the reason why you're listening to us, because you have been in that relationship. You've kind of learned more about us and hopefully trust in us, that we're telling you about something that we know will help you become very much ready to get your content out there. So we want that to happen and not have it hold up any longer. The world is waiting to hear your message, and we don't want it to get in the way. So we want to make sure you start getting that out there as quickly as possible.
Yeah, this is one of the single biggest stumbling blocks that new podcasters face, is how to get a website up in time to get their episodes out. If you go and pay somebody to create your website, or you go and try and design it yourself, you could be talking months. And meanwhile, you may lose momentum. Other things may change in your life, and you won't get your episodes out there. This, I won't say eliminates it, but this sure shortcuts your path to getting your webpage up to support your podcast. And that's why we use it. And that's why we recommend you use it. Simple.
I agree. And I think, Bill, what I find, if that person's wondering, okay, we've discussed a lot about this WP Profitbuilder and about template and themes. And I think that we're simply saying, we want to make not only the resource page available, and of course the builder's landing page, you'll see what we're talking about there. But also, if that person is thinking, okay, how can I even have a way something to look at that would help to remind them of some things we've discussed or guide them through their process, would there be something that they could refer to, Bill, that would possibly help them in that area?
Maybe. Well, if there isn't, maybe we could create something for them.
I like that idea that we could create something, and as a matter of fact, if they show interest in that, well, here's what I'm suggesting: that what if they tell us or let us know that they're interested? Would that be something that we could do then?
I'm just thinking out loud here, Kingsley, and we haven't really discussed this before this episode. So if you don't want to commit to this or anything, let me know. But I'm thinking that let's try and do a service to our listeners. Why don't you and I, get our heads together and talk about maybe coming up with a basic template that someone could use when they want to start their podcast. And I know it sounds like a lot of work, but maybe we could see if folks are interested first. So I don't know. We could create a list, and if we get enough responses from the people, then we'll go ahead and do that and create it for them.
I think that a good, I believe that our listeners who are building this relationship and trusting us, I think it's a nice gesture on our part, Bill, to, if you have enough interest, to put the time and the effort in putting that together for them. I'll be okay with that. Okay,
so let's see how. Now, again, we haven't discussed this, folks, so we're doing this live on in the episode.
This is what happens sometimes when you're doing this kind of dual.
Where should we have them express their interest? Do we want to do it on the Facebook page, or do we want to put them on a mailing list, or what should we do?
I would prefer. We could do both, but I would just say, what if you have a mailing list? They go to a mailing list and just put their first name and their email address in, and we can start, communicate with them and let them know where we're at with this and when it's ready. So they're treated as VIP, because we just want to make sure that our listeners on the podcast get this first and nobody first. So I would say have them on an email list and treat them as a VIP, up close and personal to what we want to do, and they'll be privy to that information before anybody else is. That's how I'm thinking, and it's a special offer to our special audience.
Okay, so in order to do that, we need to create a page, and thankfully we have Profitbuilder to do that. We probably get that done today. So exactly. Why don't we call it podcastbyfriday.com/VIP?
Hey, I like that.
So podcastbyfriday.com /VIP. And on there, we're going to keep it minimal. You'll just have a place to enter your email and your first name, and we'll notify you when we have the template done. And there'll be a checkbox in there to indicate whether you would like to join the Facebook group as well.
Exactly. That's a good. That's a brilliant idea. Yeah. So they'll be able to, and we can also send them an email to a reminder. Hey, here's a link to the Facebook group. But at least we know that they will be apprised of this update, and want to get it into their hands first. Want to get it up and running as quickly as possible.
Okay, so there. Now we have a little bit of work to do, but that's cool. We're going to be doing it in Profitbuilder, and it's real quick. Maybe you'll shoot a screenshot of creating that. We could reuse that content. Show them just how easy it was.
Well, I think that's a great. I like the fact that we're creating these things for our listener. And just for a recap here, here's what we discussed in this episode that you really can remember. We talked about, a theme. What is a theme? We described that. We went through that for you. Mm-hmm. We talk about when. When do you need a theme? When do you need that? And then where do you find that a theme? And then we, of course, introduced to you our WP Profitbuilder and how to access, how to get to that, and why we use that. And we now mention, of course, for you to have all of that in one place, to go to podcastbyfriday.com/VIP, and you'll be able to see that in place as well. So I want to make sure that I remind you of all we covered here, and you will be able to even go back and refresh yourself in listening to these segments as we have walked you through this process.
Mm-hmm. Now, again, if you just are already convinced that you want this simplicity, you can just go right to podcastbyfriday.com/builder and, get started. But otherwise, we've got all the other information and resources available for your convenience, and we'll have links to all of that on the page. So I hope that helps you over this one stumbling block, because it can be a bear.
It is. And don't forget that we'll have links in the show notes to the past episodes as well, which we recommend it strongly that you go back and listen to episode 20 and episode 19, because we cover some very important things there as well. So you'll find the links in the show notes, as well as other links that we have also mentioned there as well. So don't forget to go and visit there to get a refresher on that.
Yep. And I think that you'll find the information that we provided in the last few episodes to be crucial in setting up your podcast in a fast, easy manner. And, that's what this is all about, getting it done.
And we did.
Podcast by Friday. Take bold action to create your minimal viable podcast today. Check out new episodes at podcastbyfriday.com or on iTunes or Spreaker.